One of the greatest and most famous catastrophes in human history is certainly the sinking of the Titanic, which at the time was the largest passenger ship in the world. According to the official version, the Titanic was supposed to sail to New York on its first voyage, since it sailed from the port of Southampton in England on April 12, 1912. But just 2 days later, on Sunday, April 14th at 11:40 p.m., it hit an iceberg in the North Atlantic, damaging the right side of the hull and water breaking into the ship. 2 hours and 40 minutes later, the Titanic sank. The total number of passengers and crew members was 2,208, and between 1,502 and 1,523 people were killed. This is a play story and everyone believed in it, so even movies and series were made based on it. But as the legend of the Titanic evolved, so did human curiosity, as did numerous conspiracy theories. In this video, we will introduce you to some of them. And before we go, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Your support really means a lot. One of the theories, perhaps the most realistic, is that the Rothschilds, otherwise bankers, were one of the richest families advocating for the New World Order, wars, famine, and generally things to profit from. That they and other bankers, as well as the creator of the Titanic, J.P. Morgan, deliberately destroyed the ship because Benjamin Guggenheim, Isidor Straus, and John Astor, who were one of the richest people at the time, were on board. Probably not only these three were the targets because there were a lot of rich people on the Titanic, but the three opposed the Rothschilds and other bankers who wanted to create a World Bank and Federal Reserves. The official definition of the World Bank is to represent an international organization established to assist countries in progress and development. However, it is an organization of the big and rich with the aim of bringing under control the economies of all the independent countries that have no debt. Through false promises of the same progress, it is also for the purpose of the New World Order. The Federal Reserve is a kind of treasury, where America's money lies, and which enables the economic stability of that country. By the way, the Federal Reserve was formed the year after the Titanic sank. It can be said that this is enough to claim, but there are more strange events. In 1898, Morgan Robertson wrote a book called The Destruction of the Titan, the theme of which was about a luxury ship that acted as if it could not sink. The ship also went across the North Atlantic in April and hit an iceberg, where most people died due to the lack of lifeboats. It is interesting that this book was published 14 years before the Titanic crash, and it is strange that the author of this book was poisoned a few years after the crash. The question remains, did they get the idea in Robertson's book how to kill who opposed the idea of the Federal Reserve? Also, Robertson's ship from the book was called the Titan, which is similar to the Titanic, and the size of the ship and the speed at which it moved, everything was similarly described, even the impact on the iceberg. Another fact is that the founder of the Titanic, J.P. Morgan, was supposed to go on the voyage of the ship, but at the last minute he cancelled the voyage. Also, his friend Milton Hershey cancelled the voyage at the last moment. Interestingly, there were no red rockets on board that signaled a rescue call, but only white rockets on board that indicated that everything was fine. The Titanic was the first ship at the time that could electromagnetically close decks, so they could close people who were below it. Captain Edward Smith was one of the most esteemed captains of his time, and wouldn't just ignore the warnings because they said that there were warnings about icebergs. Another theory is that a fire broke out on the ship, and that a fire was burning in one part of the ship. So the captain increased the speed of the ship to get to New York as soon as possible to put the fire out, but an iceberg came in his way. There is also the theory that the Olympic ship sank, not the Titanic, because they looked a lot like each other. Allegedly, the Olympic collided with a naval ship a year earlier, where it suffered huge damage. The owners could not get enough money from the insurance to cover the costs, so they allegedly came up with this hellish plan. However, many remains from the ship that are not characteristic of the Olympic have been found, which confirm that it is Titanic. Another theory is that a German ship fired a torpedo and that the Titanic was actually destroyed, but there is no confirmation that anyone saw this ship or torpedo. There was also a theory that the White Star Line competed with a rival in who would get to New York, which is why the ship went so fast and hit an iceberg, and ended up at the bottom of the ocean. Write to us in the comments below what you think is the most realistic theory for this catastrophe that happened. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel in support. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video with some new interesting topic.